So imagine this. There's a regular high school boy going about his regular day through his classes. But the only thing he looks forward to the most is basketball after practice or after class is done. He's hydrated, he's eaten all the right foods he was supposed to. But within 10 minutes of his practice, something goes terribly wrong. He feels a sharp pain within his chest. He doesn't understand what's going on. Next thing he knows, he's laying on the ground. Everything goes black. There's nothing. He's gone. This is a true story of a friend, Justin, who lived in my hometown, who passed away from cardiac arrest on November 19th, 2013. Not only is Justin's story very important, but there's an abundant amount of student athletes across our nation who have fallen victim of cardiac arrest and other injuries. This is a big issue within high schools. Not only are these deaths potentially preventative, but there's also injuries that are preventative as well. To reduce these injuries, I think that high schools need to be more educated in keeping their athletes safe. And to do that, I think that an important staff member that the high school should have is an athletic trainer. So I will be talking about what an athletic trainer is and what they do, and then how a lot of high schools lack athletic trainers in their program, and then they have other problems as well because of that, and then how we can solve the issue. So what does an athletic trainer do? How are they useful? An athletic trainer is certified by the National Athletic Trainers Association and is an allied health professional who has a specific expertise in prevention, recognition, and care of injury to athletes. An article by Dan Campbell and Andrew P. Winterstein in the NATA. So athletic trainers are there to assess the athletes before a practice or a game, and they're to make a personal relation with the athlete so they know when something is going wrong. And they are the first responders to an injury during anything. They're an allied health profession, meaning that they need a bachelor's degree before they can get their certification. So they're very professional and they should be recognized as physicians for athletes. So in addition to just helping an athlete before practice in a game, they can also help the athlete get back into the game after an injury or a surgery. And they're also there for the off-season training, so those athletes can get into the program and get back into the game so they're properly equipped. This is an article by Fred Balsamo in the Connecticut of Medicine. So athletic trainers are very important, and they're there to open a door to keep the athletes safer. So they're very important, but a lot of high schools do not have them. So an article by Gary Bullard in the State Legislators mentioned that a town was shocked that a 14-year-old freshman boy died from a head-on collision during football practice. There was no proper equipment used, and the staff was not prepared for such an emergency. The journal also said that they did not have athletic trainers due to the cost. So my athletic director that I spoke to from my old high school, who I interviewed, his name's Joe Tay, mentioned the same thing, that public schools cannot afford to hire athletic trainers. This is an issue, but Coach Tay mentioned that all PE teachers and coaches are first aid and CPR certified, but so am I. Does that mean that I should be there to help in an emergency like that? I don't think I would be properly prepared or ready for anything like that. So that's what an athletic trainer is there for. They're there and they're more professional and they can help the injury in the first place. Another problem within high schools is that some high schools take more precautions for certain sports rather than others. So for example, in my high school, there was more coaching staff for football games rather than water polo games, which I was playing in. And I think that there should be the same precautions for every sport regardless of the intensity of the sport. Although my high school seems a little bit more organized, there's a lot of high schools who lack the organization and help to keep their athletes safe. So I think they need help obtaining the safety of those students. And so how are we going to solve this? So I believe that athletic trainers should be required in every single high school. There's only 42% of high schools that have an athletic trainer on staff or within clinical reach, according to the article, Mandating Athletic Trainers in High School by Russell Lowe and Judy Police. So only a few states require athletic trainers, and I think California needs to be one of those states. Of course, it's not going to be easy to put athletic trainers in every single high school right away, but I think that an athletic trainer should at least be designated over a few high schools so that they can show up to the games and at least keep those athletes safe during those games. So how do we help the money issue within those high schools? There was an article by Dorman, a representative of Oklahoma, who stated that he's looking into some tax reduction so he can have doctors volunteer during games to watch over the student athletes. And if that's not possible, then I personally think that the government should fund with our tax money that we already give to hire athletic trainers. And of course, hiring athletic trainers isn't going to happen overnight. So how can those schools prepare themselves to keep their athletes safe regardless of if they do not have an athletic trainer? So of course, if you played a sport in high school, you had to get a physical. But there's no national standard for these physicals. An article on preventing athletic injuries by Regina Whitmer states, since most students suffer from cardiac arrest, an EKG should be required for every physical. An EKG looks at the heart and detects a disease such as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is the leading cause of death in young athletes. High schools can also prevent heat stroke, which is another cause of death, by easing the athletes into practice and also making sure that they're hydrated 100% of the time. In the case of a concussion, students should immediately go to post-concussions and cognitive tests without any excuses. So all of these is what high schools can do to help prevent the students from getting injured in the case of not having an athletic trainer. So to conclude, I talked about what an athletic trainer is and how they help prevent injuries. I also talked about the problem within the high schools and how the major problem is the money issue. And if high schools cannot get an athletic trainer on staff right away, then they should be properly prepared to keep their athletes safe. Student athletes need to be kept safe on their campuses. We need to educate high schools so we can prevent deaths of innocent students such as my friend Justin. Thank you.